I'm Katherine Scott, and I grew up in Prince Edward County, Virginia. And as you know, the summer of 1963 was very busy in terms of civil rights activity. And we were involved in, I guess, a boycott of the town because they weren't hiring blacks for jobs. So that was one part of our activity, our busy summer of 1963. So at the end of the demonstrations, we got to attend the March on Washington, and the NAACP Youth Council was the organization. So that was the organization that organized, and that was the organization that organized the boycott of the town of Farmville, which was the county seat of Prince Edward County. So we got up, I think it was about 3 or 4 buses. And, we had to get up and leave our homes around 4 o'clock. We were in the country, we had to get to Farmville. And probably about 5 o'clock, we left the town. And we were marching for jobs and for schools, because that was the one county that had closed the public schools for about 4 years. So we didn't have any formal schools. I mean, the county supervisors decided that they weren't going to comply with the Brown decision, as we called it, the 54 decision. I still call it the 54 decision. So they didn't appropriate any funds for public education. So black students were left out, and we were the majority students, because every time they would reference the students, they would say 1,700 Negro students and 1,500 white students. So since '59, we had not had public schools. What happened in terms of the white community, they built a private school called Prince Edward Academy. But in the meantime, they just went into whatever until the school was built. We had to leave town. Many students missed out the 4 years. I was lucky. I came to New York, but I did miss 1 year. So all of that we were marching for. And then it sort of culminated, our efforts culminated with the March on Washington. And that was a big deal. I just remember how hot it was, and I was carrying one of the banners. And we didn't stay, some of us, after a while it got so hot and we saw people fainting and stuff like that, we said, maybe we better go back to the bus. So we went back, we found the bus, remarkably, all those buses, and we waited until, everybody came back. But we did march for a good distance before we came back. So that was just one thing. And speaking of classrooms, when the schools opened in September, that was one thing we had to talk about, of those of us who participated. And that was kind of my intro. And then now, I'm a retired teacher now, but I would tell students about it. And they would say, when they learned about it, "You really went to the March on Washington?" They couldn't imagine anything happening 50-some years ago. I said, yes, I really went to the March on Washington, because some of the other staff members would tell them, and they would run to my room and say, "You really went to the March on Washington?" So I was there, and I had never seen so many people at one time. But yeah, that's my memory of the whole incident, just what was happening, how we happened to go as the NAACP and the Youth Council. So that was our organization.